Guys, how you like the hat? I shampooed my hair and I haven't got it fixed, so y'all have got to put up with the hat because you wouldn't want to see what's underneath. But I wanted to get us going on our blocks for the little bit of Christmas quilt, because if you're going to make it for Christmas, you got to get busy. And if you've cut 841 2.5 inch squares, you're anxious to get going. Okay, I told you that the basics of our quilt was a 25 patch, 5 by 5, 25 2.5 inch squares. That's correct. And you need this piece for the side pieces. And I can better show you that on this great big picture. That is what we consider our side pieces. And we need 12 of those. Okay? But there's also one other block, little block, and that is our corner. And we need, there's 4 corners, so we need 4. So I'm going to put the camera down and show you what I've got made so far, and then we'll go over everything that I know you should do to make this just real easy on yourself. Okay. That it's gonna, like I say, the cutting took the longest part, honestly. Sewing is not gonna be that bad. If you just sit down and get with the program, you could whip this up pretty good, but I don't have time to just sit there for hours, and so I'm running from here and there and everywhere doing different projects. And once I get this show done at the Civic Center, then I can concentrate on just the quilt. Now, these big squares, and we'll talk about the sashing later, and you will understand when I put the camera down why these blocks look so funny. You'll think you didn't do it right, but I'll show you that you are doing it right, okay? Let me put this down so we can get a good picture of everything. Well, you can't see those. Okay. This is very self-explanatory, and so I am not sewing as I tell you to do this, but if you'll just listen to me, I don't need to sew. Some of my prints are directional, as you can see, and so you need to pay attention to that and be sure that you put, this will be my top and this will be my bottom. And so I've tried to turn all of my fabrics and, you know, get it in the right position. Now I want you to look. You see my 1/4 inch seams are pretty small. That is what you call a scant 1/4 inch, and it's not a real 1/4 inch, but it's perfect. This is 10.5 inches finished. It will be 10, and that's what you want. So try to get your scant 1/4 inch when you're sewing this. Okay, when you sewed this patch here, 25, sew a strip, lay it out on the bottom, start at the bottom. Sew your next strip and pin. Go like that and pin. And after you've sewn all of your strips first, let's just do your strips. You're gonna sew one at a time. And then you're gonna go to your ironing station, whatever you have, and you're gonna press, and this is so important. You're gonna press in one direction. Your next row is gonna be in the opposite. You're gonna go like that. Then alternate to the other side. Next row will be this side, and the last row will be the opposite. You're gonna alternate each and every row. And pressing, so important. You will be so glad that you have it this good and this pretty when you start wanting to quilt it. Okay, when you start, you've got your rows, and when you start adding this row to this row, your seams are in the opposite direction. So you can just butt that seam right there, put your pin down here, and pin about right there. That way you don't have to worry about running over your pins, because that will break your needle and possibly ruin your sewing machine. So pin it about right here. If you want to pin it right up here to be sure, you can go in from this direction and pin it, and when you get to that seam, take your pin out. It's whichever way you want to go. If you want to leave your pins, pin it down here and sew. But now I do like to put my pins up here and take them out ever so slowly when I'm ready to sew that seam. And that seam doesn't move that much. But having your seams one direction and this one the other makes your butting those seams together so very nice. And then you just add your 5 rows and sew them. Then you take it back to the iron and you press whichever way. You've already got these seams pressed, but then you've got new seams going this way, and I pressed all of them going up. If they kind of tell you which way they need to go. If it wants to go down, press them down. Mine just seems like it was meant to be up. So that's how you make this block. Okay, now 25 of them. 25 2.5-inch squares, 25 big blocks. Okay, now this is your side piece, and this, all of this is going on the side of your quilt. Let's just pretend this is the left-hand side of your quilt, right here. This is going to be trimmed off, cut off, just like that, right down the middle. So I fretted over this when I was doing this. This is the way I laid it out. Five, this is the way I did it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you do your 5, then you do your 4, your 3, and your 2, and then you'll add this on at the last. You go to the iron and do the same thing. This side goes this way, the next side goes that way. The next side goes this way, and then that way. Then when you're putting them together, you're pinning and butting those seams right together. Pin, and they fit beautifully. Very precise quilting. All right. When you do this, now think about this. When you do these 4 squares, look at it go over, it goes past that seam because that seam has been sewn. This hasn't. You see what I'm saying? So this goes past the seam. Well, I stewed over that and I thought, do I stop right there? But I decided, no, I should sew the whole length of this piece. So that's what I did, and then I backstitched. And then on this piece, the same thing. I went clear up to this piece, not this piece, and I sewed all the way up, backstitched. So you've got funny looking corners that are past your seams. But this, like I say, is on the side of the quilt, and it's going to be trimmed. And it will be all right. When we, next week, when we get our sashing, when I go buy my fabric, remember it was 2 yards. Yeah. White on white tonal they call it. And when we get that, and I will tell you how to cut it out, and then all we'll have to do is just finish our blocks and lay it out and sew it together. All right, now this was our side pieces. Got 2 of them done. Now, let's talk about the corners. These are really funny little dudes. I've just got some here to show you. I turned this way so that you could see, but here it's the opposite. That's probably going to confuse you. But you got 5 of your squares, 3 and 1. But you don't sew it that way. You don't sew this strip and add this one. Why, I really don't know. I can't tell you. This is just what the directions say to do. You sew this row together, the middle row. You will sew that together, and you will sew this one together, and you will have this row made. Then you will sew these 2 together and these 2 together, and they will be sewn together. Then, now just pretend that these are sewn together. This is sewn together. Then this piece will go to the 2 bottom pieces, and you will sew right here. Press them, flip them over. So these 2, well, this will be 1, because it'll be sewn. So those, press them, and that will be sewn together. This will be sewn together, and then we'll sew these together. Then we add this one, sew it, and then we add this one and sew it. So that's how you get the corner spaces, your corner sections, and you need 4 of them. Remember, sew this together, these 2 together, then sew them together, sewing on the bottom 2, and then sew your 2 side pieces. Okay? Now, I wished that I had a little bit more of a variety. Let me go show you. I'm gonna put this all back together. And I'm gonna show you all of my squares after I cut out 800 and some of them. Of course, I've already got these done, so I've used quite a few of them. But let me go get them real fast. I have found that I wished I have a lot of colors. These are my darks. These are what I call secondary, your mediums, all of these. These are my lights, which they're not all that light, but and these are more mediums. All the rest of them are mediums. So I have all of those, but they're not that many different fabrics. I kind of wished I had just a little few more. I didn't end up using near all of those that I showed you those bigger pieces, and I didn't end up using them, all of them. So, I don't know, I'm gonna see, well, you still can't see me. I'm gonna see how, as I go along, because I've tried so hard not to make any of them alike. And that's going to work, but pretty soon I probably won't be able to do that. And I know on a big quilt like this, it's not going to matter, but it would really work better if I had just a few more different fabrics. So see, like one of this whole stack is out one pattern, one fabric. And so, you see what I'm saying? I should have cut maybe half of that much and then cut more of a different one. But anyway, it's done now, so it might just stay that way. But now you can make your blocks. And even though they might not make sense to you, and I'm going to put a picture of the blocks, either from here. I think I'll put a picture of my blocks. I think they're more self-explanatory. I'll put a picture, and if you want to, take your phone and take a snapshot. And then you'll see what they're supposed to look like. And I hope you've gone and found the pattern. I really do. And this is it's really going to be beautiful. And you know, the pattern, I mean, the quilt looks kind of daunting. And you think, oh, I don't know, if I can do that. But when you break it down, 3 blocks, and see, this is all put down, you place it on the diagonal. It's all on the diagonal. I did a quilt probably a year ago, and it was a snowball. And the name of it was My Only Sunshine. And it was all put on the diagonal. And it was so much fun at the end to see how it all played together and how it worked beautifully. So that's what this is. Okay. Golly gee, y'all got to get busy. And have fun doing it. Enjoy what you're doing.